start by using long division. Are y'all with us? Okay. No matter what kind of division we're going to do, we have to make sure every term is accounted for. So if there's a missing variable, exponent, we have to put in 0 for that spot. Okay? Exactly. Okay? If we divide, let's skip the first one and go down to an easier one. If I want to divide x minus 2 into x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. We're going to follow the rules of normal division, like you did with just numbers. Okay? The whole idea is to figure out how to get rid of this first term. We're only going to be working with 2 terms at a time because there's 2 terms sitting out here. So, what do I multiply x by to get x cubed? So we put it over the x squared term. What do you multiply x by to get x cubed? Okay, so we're going to put it over the x squared. And now we're going to FOIL. We're going to take this x squared and we're going to FOIL it into this x minus 2. And what do we get? Okay. Now, when we divide and we do normal division, what do we do with our answers? We subtract. So we want to subtract all of this, right? Right? Which means we got to go through and change every sign. Would you agree? So pull this in, this goes negative, and this becomes positive. Because I'm subtracting a polynomial. Would you agree? 3 into 186. That comes out evenly. 175. 3 goes into 17 5 times. I get a 15. What do I do with the 17 and the 15? I subtract. I'm doing that same format here. Alright, so what happens to my first term? And that's what has to happen. If you've done this right, that first term will always drop out. What do I get here? 7x squared. Once we subtracted up here, what did we do next? Pull down the next term. So guess what my next term I'm going to pull down is? Negative 7x. You're always pulling down the next part, just like you do in normal division. You following this? Now we go through the same process again. Now we got to get rid of the first term. What's my first term that I have to eliminate? So what do I multiply x by to get 7x squared? Plus 7x. And guess what we do with the 7x? We distribute it. And we get 7x squared minus 14x. And then what do I need to do? Change every sign. You're following this? Because I'm subtracting. What happens to my first term? As it should. What am I left with? It's just 7x. And what do I do now? Bring down the next term, which is positive 2. Signs are important. Don't drop it. Go through the process again. What do I multiply x by to get rid of 7x? And my answer is 7. So positive 7 means plus 7 goes here. And we distribute. And so I get 7x minus 14. And then I go through and change my signs. Does my first term get eliminated? Yep. What am I left with? 16. That's my remainder, correct? So we have to write this as plus 16 over, what did we divide by? Right, just like when we write a remainder as, for example, if this was our remainder, we'd say 2/7, right? In a normal fractional problem. Does that make sense?
You can just go over like the very
Sure, because 16 is positive. What am I going to do with that remainder? Am I adding it or subtracting it? And it's determined by whatever this value is down here. So, Rachel, what's your question? The first step is the same every single time. I'm eliminating my first term, whatever that is. So you look to see here. What do I multiply this by to get rid of this term? That goes there. So x squared times x is giving me x cubed, which is what I want to get. Okay? Let's try this next one. Is every term accounted for? It goes cubic, squared, first, and integer. So everyone's accounted for, so we don't have to include any zeros. So x plus 2 goes outside. X cubed minus x squared plus 4x minus 10 goes inside. So what do I multiply x by to get what term? And my answer is, and it goes above my x squared term. And I do what? And I get x cubed plus 2x squared. And what do I need to do? You got to remember to change the signs, otherwise your first term's not dropping out. And what is that left with here? And then, what do I do next? So make sure you're telling me it's a plus 4x, right? And what do I do? Negative 3x squared. And what do I multiply x by to get negative 3x squared? Yeah, and so I get negative 3x squared minus 6x. And what do I need to do now? Change my signs. First term drops out. And what am I left with? And what do I do now? And what do I multiply x by to get 10x? Who said 5? So plus 10. And so I get 10x squared plus, what, 20. And what do I do now? Change my signs. And what happens to my first term? And what am I left with? And how do I write this negative 30? Minus 30 over x plus 2, right? That's kind of a mess up here. Does that make sense? Kind of. It's kind of a process. So we're going to change the homework a little bit. I'm just going to give you 3 through 10. Yep. Uh-huh. So 3 through 10. Here, you know what? I'm gonna write it on the board. Actually, 3 through 10, and then I want you to do 47 through 59, the odds. Those are just the review ones. Hold on, let me get this going.